A vendor's worst nightmare. What could that possibly be? Well, I got a story for you. Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Georgia, and I am the creator of Scrap the Catwalk. I have been a vendor for over 10 years, but for the last 2 years, I have taken on my shop full time to conventions, local art shows, and pop-up events in Florida. I'm here to talk about my experience as a vendor through my eyes. So turn up the volume, wait for the pause, and let's get started. Okay, so the story that I'm sharing today is a little emotional, and there's a lot I want to say, but I condensed it a little bit. So some of my words might be stumbling or I might stutter, but I'm going to get through this. So, as a vendor, I'm always learning and growing. Now, I love going to events, I love having fun at the events. But the point of going to these events is to make money. And I make all my art, I make as much as I can, and I hit the road running. So there's no rule book out there on how to handle different situations. You follow the rules of the show, right? Well, it's not always that easy. I had to start off by saying that as a vendor that does pop-ups in different locations to sell my products, I do have certain expectations like, will there be a crowd? Is the floor I'm setting up on, is it going to be clean? Is the location safe? Just a couple of things. Sometimes the last thing we think of is, how will I handle the weather? It is actually the last thing, or it was the last thing on my mind while I'm creating my art. But now, this is one of the things I think about a lot before choosing an event. In Florida, vendors who live here know that the weather can get very hot, and it rains. And it feels like a mini tropical storm, all the way down to a freakish mini hurricane. When you set up in an outdoor event in Florida, especially during the summertime, you're gonna get rained on. But this year, the rain came early for us here in the Sunshine State, and I wasn't prepared for what was in store for me. So let me start off where it all started. So one of my favorite markets in existence is the Heavy Metal Flea Market in St. Lucie. The mini concert and flea market is created around one of the best breweries called Hop Life Brewery Company. Now, with only 30 vendors and an incredible lineup of bands, this event is one of the smallest events that kicks out a power of energy from the bands, vendors, and the people who come by. Aaron Snyder is the lead coordinator here, who is also the creator of the Fort Pierce Punk Rock Flea Market. This event is the easiest of all setups and breakdowns. Aaron sends us the vendor email and tells us all the rules and information we need for this event. One of the biggest rules of all is do not break down early. In fact, this is the kiss of death to all vendors who do any event. If you break down early, don't plan on doing that event again. You will see at any event that is not going well, you will see vendors break down early and they have no intention to return. It happens. I just never thought I would be that person. The heavy metal event is a very hot event to set up, and I mean the sun is unforgiving. This time, a bunch of us vendors who have done this event before chose to set up under the trees near the stage. Wherever you set up, it's easy. It's an easy drive up and drop off. Parking is right around the building, so not far at all. The event started off with crowds already feeding into the tents and buying right away. I have my fan, my ice, keeping me comfortable while taking care of customers. We are all doing well, but then my vendor tells me that she sees rain coming. So we're already a couple hours into the event. We all have access to the weather Doppler, and it's one of the biggest tools to use while vending outside. She shows me the Doppler, and I see this huge cloud coming towards us. It looked like it will hit us in an hour. She asked me, "What are you going to do?" And I told her, I'll just prepare my store for the rain. We had about 3 more hours for this event to finish. Now, all the vendors are talking and trying to figure out what everyone's planning to do. So I said, well, let me go ask Aaron, the coordinator. Now, Aaron has his own shop set up, so I know where he's at all times. Plus, he always comes by and checks on us as well, so he's very present. I walk over and I ask him, what should I do if rain comes? I showed him the Doppler and I told him that heavy rain is coming. I asked him, do we have permission to break down early? His response was, you do what is best for your shop. Words that changed the way I think about my shop. And they are words that basically defined what happened to me at my next show. But so let's go back to this one though. So I go back to the vendors and I tell them what Aaron had told me. So it was starting to slow down with customers. So vendors around me started to prep their shop for the weather, like taking down their banners, breaking a table down. Some got their walls zipped up, but we still had our merchandise out. I placed on one side all my clothes and my garment bags just so I could do a quick, cover up. I basically moved everything to one side of my shop for a fast breakdown. I had my dressing room to use for protection as well. I went ahead and I broke down my table and I placed my bins and dolly inside my tent. I brought in my mannequins and I just kept everything under the tent. I'm watching the Doppler religiously now. I felt like it was... Have you ever seen that movie Independence Day with Will Smith, with the aliens? When everyone's watching the countdown and they're running into the Air Force One and Jeff Goldblum is sitting with his laptop on his, lap and you see the countdown, as soon as you hear the raindrops, I hear in my head, time's up. Just like Jeff Goldblum. Now, the rain drip, drip, boom, downfall, and it never stopped. We all start breaking down. The show has another hour to go, but the rain was like it was like being under a waterfall. The rain is already starting to bubble our tents. The rain likes to sit on the top corners of the tents and turns into this massive puddles. So you have to push it off to get rid of the weight. But while you're doing that, the splash will hit your fellow vendors next to you. And it also comes into your tent. So everything's getting wet. You can't drive your car in front of your tent because there's no room. Because all the tents are still up. You either wait for everybody to finish breaking down or you get out as fast as you can. I'm walking back to my car and walking through an ankle deep puddles. Oh my gosh. I saved as much as I could and stuffed everything into my SUV. I was absolutely soaked. It looked like we all jumped into a pool of water. The rain did not stop and all my clothes were wet. I didn't get them into the garment bags in time. So all my tags are wet, all my belts, everything. The rain came down so fast, no one had a chance. The only vendor that I saw that had a chance of saving their store was Goods from the Grave. They had walls and they covered their store from all sides and they waited out the rain. But the rain did not stop. It came and went and soft and light and then it came down really hard again. But I just waited as long as I could. I think 2 hours. And then I just finally hit the road. I did well for my sales that day, but my merchandise was pretty much damaged. had a week to prepare for my show, the next show. I spent the whole week repairing and creating new items for the next show. This was a night market, so it was a risk because the rain usually comes after 3 p.m. I contemplated canceling because I felt so defeated. You know, being a one-woman designer is not easy when you're the one who does all the creating. So all week, I keep going back and forth, and I knew this was going to be the last time I was going to do this market. So the spot was only $30. So losing $30 was all I would lose. The drive was an hour and a half. But the closer I got to Friday, I just wasn't sure. I really wasn't even sure up to the last hour. But I had a friend encourage me to move forward, so I did. And she said she would come with me. So I was like, okay, I feel a little better. So I went ahead and I packed up and I hit the road. I'm not going to go into the setup of this show. I'm going to go right into what caused me to get banned. So this market is the Ocala Oddities Market in Ocala, Florida. This is a monthly market, and this was their first night market. I have done this market twice before, and each time has been successful. It's a great show for local vendors, and there is definitely an audience. I have been going to this market since February. This way, the way you get a spot is you contact the coordinator. He sends you a map of a spot to pick. You pick a number, and the number is the area that you've chosen to set up at. And then he will send you a bill, and you pay electronically. Everything's pretty much done by instant message or text. You don't get an email. Everything is done by messenger. So the time to arrive is given and off you go. Now, I chose a 10 by 10 located under the cover. So you have an outdoor area and you have an indoor area, but the indoor area is basically an outdoor patio. So now you have vendors in the courtyard that line up on the edge of the courtyard. So the center is this huge open space. This night, there was actually I want to say 3 tents in the center, but not in the full center. There's still an open space. I was on the inside, but on the edge. I just, for me, thought it was easier to drive my car and do my drop off there. And it was. And then I just drove it out of the courtyard and parked it, which was about like a 5-minute walk maybe, but it's still a little bitty walk. So all is good. I set it with no problem, didn't need a tent, and I chose not to bring my dressing room or gates. I had 2 garment racks and a table and 2 body forms. So I was watching the weather on the Doppler, and I saw a huge cloud coming our way. Not only could I see it on the Doppler, I was watching the sky, and I was getting a little freaked out. So, since I was under the huge cover, I knew it was going to be okay, but it started to rain, and I got a little nervous. Well, I thought I was going to be protected, but that wasn't the case. But let me go into what I saw that to this day shakes me to the core. So I'm standing underneath the patio cover. The rain, that rain, here it comes. All the vendors in the courtyard stayed standing until the lightning, thunder, and downfall of rain came crashing down. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm watching from my spot the outside tents bubbling up and the vendors struggling to prevent their items from getting wet. So I'm already getting flashbacks from the last show. So up to this point, I have already made several trips back to my car to avoid getting my body forms wet. At this time, I already broke down my table and took it to my car. I had an umbrella and it was only sprinkling when I was walking back and forth. Now, during the sprinkle, I wasn't that worried. I even sat and got a reading in the rain, but all that changed when I started to see the lightning and the rain starting to pour. Now, rain started to come into the venue itself. Since I was on the outside of the venue, I had to keep pushing my items closer and closer to the middle of the venue. The music was loud. The echo of the chatter of people was making it even louder. I'm watching vendors in the open courtyard running from their tent to their car. The entrance to the courtyard was blocked, so vendors either had to wait it out or start breaking down. Now, I'm getting flashbacks again from last weekend. Watching the tents begin to collapse with the amount of rain on top of their tents was scary. But watching their art getting wet was heartbreaking. Now you have vendors trying to pack underneath a tent that is about to break down on them from the rain bubbling up on the top. Watching everyone running, holding their items and stuff in their car and just stuffing in their car while the lightning is flashing down. I mean, I've never seen the lightning so close. So I was getting a little bit freaked out. But the rain was coming down. And so I just decided enough is enough. So I packed it up. I have already walked through the rain, lightning, thunder with most of my items. I had 2 more bins left, just 2. I saw an opening and decided to drive my car in the courtyard to pack up the last of my items. Now, I drove in because I saw on the other side people driving in. So I just went ahead and took it. I backed my car and I stepped out, and this lady yells at me, "Where's your business card?" I tell her I packed it up. Then she begins to aggressively tell me that I'm not supposed to bring in my car. I looked at her and I was in awe because of what was happening around me. Then she proceeds to walk away yelling, "Look what you've done. Now everybody's coming in." And I'm just like, what's going on? So I got back in my car and I drove it back. And then when I came back, I saw the actual, like the coordinator standing there. And he asked me, "What's wrong?" And I tell him what just happened because I wasn't crying. I think I was just in the shock. Like, what's going on? I'm just like confused. So I had these 2 bins, and again, the lightning's going on. I'm freaking out. I'm starting to see all these cars come in, and I'm like, screw this. So I went ahead and I got my car and I brought it back in. So it is a safety hazard to bring in your cars into the courtyard when there are people present. But there was no one in the open courtyard. And what I did was completely my fault because I didn't get permission to pack up early. I should have brought in my car. I shouldn't have brought in my car without asking. So coming from the last show, I was already all freaked out and just did what I thought was best for my business. I also, I brought in my car because I saw other cars coming from the other side. But again, I took the initiative and the people running the show were not happy with me. I left 30 minutes before the event ended and I received an instant message from the coordinator saying, "I've researched all the sides of the story and come to the decision that we would like you to not return to any future Oddities Market events. Thank you. Your money from tonight was returned. Good luck." Yeah, and that was that. After 10 years of vending, I was banned from my first show. I wasn't sad. I wasn't mad because at the end of the night, I did what was best for my shop. Lesson learned. Now, my next podcast will be on a series of events that happened to me with a past coordinator and how I was scammed. This happened to me during my early vending years, so it has taken me a while to remember the details, but no names will be mentioned, just the situation. So plan on tuning in for that story because I feel a lot of new vendors do get scammed, and this just might save you from choosing the wrong event. Thank you for the continuous support and feedback. I'd like to give out a special thank you to my coffee buddy, Chris the Girl, who supports me every month by being a part of the Catwalk family. Small donations are a great way to keep this podcast growing, so just buy me a coffee. Buy Me a Coffee is an easy crowdfunding to allow people to dip in with their donations and dip out without any commitment. However, you can also be a part of the Catwalk family by signing up for a monthly membership. All the links to all my social media will be below. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram for all my updates and announcements at Scrap the Catwalk. Come out and see me at the Oviedo Brewery Night Market in the Oviedo Mall on August 8th. And on August 20th, I will be in St. Pete at the Sunday Market.